Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. Today we're going to have a class, a lesson on poetry. And some of you might say, oh no, poetry. But this is only an introduction to poetry. I know some people think it's difficult, but what I'm here for is to make you realize that poetry is pleasure. And more than that, which you will see. An introduction to poetry is the name I have given to my presentation. I'm Eliana Ortega, a professor in Alberto Hurtado University, the Jesuit University in Santiago, Chile. And I'm a doctor in literature, and I have always specialized in poetry. I'm very pleased that you will listen to some of the best poetry that I have been able to get as examples. But I'm not going to teach you how to analyze it, which some people think it's like dissecting poetry. No, we're going to learn how to enjoy reading poetry. An introduction to poetry. Now, it is difficult to think that poetry can be taught. Some people think, well, tell me what a definition is, what poetry is. And I don't think there is one definition. It's as if you had asked me to try and teach you what love is. Because poetry has a lot of love and mystery in it. What is poetry? First of all, we're going to look at this picture. It's a cover of a book by Langston Hughes. And maybe some of you do not know who Langston Hughes is, but, or was, but he is one of the most outstanding contemporary American poets, and he was poet laureate of Harlem, of the United States really, but he lived in Harlem, although he lived abroad also. And you know something? He was the first one to translate Gabriela Mistral, and that's something that not many people know. And this poem that I chose is called I Too. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. That's by Langston Hughes. When people ask me what poetry is, the first thing I do is read a poem to them. And maybe you can now, maybe you, or maybe you can tell me, what is poetry by reading this poem? Of course, we would have to read it several times to get the full meaning of it. There are several writers who have talked about what poems are. Poems, some say, are like dreams. In them, you put what you don't know, you know. I'll repeat it again. Poems are like dreams. In them, you put what you don't know, you know. I think Hughes definitely knew what he was saying, although you'll be surprised. Poetry, another author says, is a responsible attempt to understand the world in human terms through literary composition. And that's what I'm interested in. to understand the world in human terms, but through literary composition. That is also poetry. Poetry comes from the Greek word poesis, which means making something. And poesis is an action. It is making something beautiful, something mysterious, something nasty sometimes. All of that can be part of poetry. And it is made of words. Language is used. And language is used for its aesthetic and evocative qualities. It evokes something. In addition of the aesthetics and evocative qualities, it has an apparent meaning. Maybe this suggests a complaint of an oppressed people, but he wrote it when he was very young. That's why I chose a picture of Langston Hughes when he was very young. And he wrote it in the 20s, 30s. And maybe he didn't know exactly what he was saying. Just wait and see. We can ask questions about the poem by Langston Hughes. And these questions that I have here are questions that you can start with, what is poetry made of, which I've already told you. Or you can start with, did you discover something when you'd read it? Because poetry is discovery, not only mystery, but discovery. Of the questions about the poem by Langston Hughes, I would like to stop on the last one. Does the poem remind you of music? Does it remind you of music? Well, in order to do that, let's listen to it again. And I will put it on again for you. I too sing, America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. If you listen carefully, you're going to see that you have words that suggest music. The first line, sing America. Of course, he's making a reference to Walt Whitman there. Whitman, a 19th century poet, sang America, and he's famous for that. But Whitman was a white writer. He was a writer who wrote of an America that did not include everybody, although he said he was very democratic, okay? So this is like a response. And the music is in the words, in the beat, when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. The and are two words that give it strength. He was very influenced by, can you guess? Harlem Renaissance, have you heard about that? No? Jazz. And in jazz, compositions are repeating a theme, I too am America. And in jazz, you also have these short sounds and then longer sounds in order to suggest continuity, strength, etc. So, can poetry be music? Definitely yes, I think. All right, now we're going to go on with some more questions about it. Do you think this is a real poem? Can it be real? Can a poem be real? Well,